Ever stared at a laptop spec sheet and felt like you were trying to read an alien language? Honestly, if you've ever looked at a new computer and felt completely lost in that sea of letters, numbers, and crazy technical jargon, you are in the exact right place. Let's dive into this explainer today to decode the often confusing world of Intel processors, cut through the noise, and figure out exactly what kind of processing power you actually need for your digital life.
Because honestly, it's the multi-million-dollar question, isn't it? So many of us walk into a store or browse online and just end up wasting hard-earned money on top-tier tech simply because the naming conventions are so overwhelming. It's super easy to assume that more expensive automatically means better for me. But let's be real, buying the absolute most expensive processor for everyday tasks is a bit like buying a massive dump truck just to pick up a single bag of groceries. It's total overkill. We're going to fix that confusion right now so you can make an informed, confident choice.
Here's how we're going to break it all down today. First, decoding the Intel maze. 2, we'll compare the mainstream chips, the i3 versus the i5. 3, we'll check out the heavy hitters, the i7 versus the i9. 4, we'll actually compare those core counts side by side. And finally, number 5, we'll look at some specialized and retired chips.
All right, jumping into part 1, decoding the Intel maze, and looking at cores as workers.
To really get how this all works, just think of a CPU core as a single worker inside a microscopic factory. If you only have a few workers, sure, they can get standard jobs done, but they have to tackle them one at a time. If a massive order comes in, they're going to get bogged down. Having more cores simply means having a much larger team to handle heavy multitasking. So, the absolute crucial takeaway here is that a processor with more of these workers can run complex games, heavy video editors, and dozens of browser tabs all at the exact same time without breaking a sweat, all because the workload is distributed across that bigger team.
Moving on to part 2, the i3 versus the i5. This is the mainstream where we find the everyday sweet spot.
Let's talk about the Core i3 first. Introduced way back in 2010, this is your budget-friendly option, packing a pretty small team of about 4 to 6 cores. Now, it is perfectly fine for students and everyday office users. If you're just browsing the web, watching YouTube in high resolution, writing up documents, or playing light games like Minecraft or Valorant, the i3 is totally efficient and reliable. But the moment you start heavy video editing, it's going to struggle. However, if you bump up to the Core i5, which came out in 2009, well, you've just hit the sweet spot. The i5 dramatically increases your workforce to anywhere from 6 to 14 cores. Because of this extra muscle, you can run multiple programs without your computer grinding to a halt. Picture yourself playing a modern game while running Discord in the background, keeping several Chrome tabs open, and streaming music all at once. The i5 handles it beautifully. It gives everyday multitaskers and gamers a fantastic balance of price and performance.
Okay, part 3. Time for the heavy hitters, the i7 versus the i9. This is power for the pros.
Now we're stepping up to the Core i7, which dropped in 2008. Your factory floor suddenly expands to a massive 8 to 20 cores. This chip is built for serious multitasking and is incredibly popular among content creators, programmers, and hardcore gamers. With an i7, you can play a modern game on the absolute highest visual settings while simultaneously recording that gameplay, running editing software, and keeping virtual machines running in the background. Just a heads up though, because of this intense performance, these systems do cost more and they generate a lot more heat, so you're going to need better cooling. But listen, if that is somehow still not enough, enter the absolute flagship, the Core i9. Launched in 2017, this monster packs 16 to 24 cores. Let me be totally clear here. For most people, the i9 is pure overkill. If you're just browsing or gaming, you absolutely do not need this. The i9 is designed specifically for professionals running the most demanding software on Earth. We're talking full-scale 4K video editing, heavy 3D animation, and advanced scientific simulations.
All right, part 4, comparing the core counts. Let's put this full lineup right side by side.
Just look at the sheer leap in the workforce here as you move from the bottom to the top of that core range column. You start with 4 to 6 cores on the entry-level i3, handling your basic office work. Jump to the i5, and you potentially more than double your workforce, up to 14 cores for that perfect gaming and multitasking sweet spot. Jump again to the i7, and suddenly you're up to 20 cores for heavy 3D rendering. And finally, that massive leap up to 24 cores on the i9. Seeing them stacked up like this shows exactly what you gain when you upgrade to a higher tier. You are literally buying a larger processing team to crunch your data faster.
Finally, part 5, specialized and retired chips. Let's look beyond the standard lineup. Fast forward to 2023, and Intel drops something pretty revolutionary for modern laptops, the Core Ultra processor family. What makes the Core Ultra such a game changer is the addition of an NPU, which stands for Neural Processing Unit. Think of this as a highly specialized worker whose only job, literally their only task, is artificial intelligence. Instead of forcing the main CPU cores to do absolutely everything, the Core Ultra uses this NPU to efficiently run AI features. Things like intelligently blurring your background on Zoom calls, enhancing your voice clarity, or running new AI image editing tools. Because the NPU handles this heavy lifting separately, it vastly improves efficiency and saves a ton of your laptop's battery life.
Now, on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, wrap your head around this mind-bending number, 64. For a stark contrast to the everyday consumer chips we've been talking about, we have to mention Intel's Xeon processors. First introduced way back in 1998, these are definitely not for your personal computer. They're designed for massive data centers, cloud computing, and continuous server workloads that simply cannot ever crash. While a top-tier consumer i9 might have 24 cores, a Xeon processor can pack 32, 64, or even more cores. And it gets crazier. Some professional server systems actually run multiple Xeon processors on a single motherboard to create an absolute powerhouse of computing capability.
If we look back at Intel's history, you can really see this whole evolution unfold. Back in 1993, the famous Pentium brand launched, handling early basic computing and standard Office apps. In 1998, they introduced the Celeron brand for extremely basic, budget-friendly laptops, alongside those massive Xeon chips for servers. Between 2008 and 2017, they built out the entire Core i series we just decoded. But what's really fascinating is the year 2023. As modern software became incredibly demanding, those legacy chips with their tiny workforces just couldn't keep up anymore. Opening too many apps on a Celeron would just grind the system to a halt. So in 2023, as Intel ushered in the AI-focused Core Ultra, they officially discontinued the legendary Pentium and Celeron series, truly ending an era in computing.
Which brings us to a really important final thought. Now that you've decoded the maze, you know that an i9 is an absolute powerhouse and an i3 is the entry level. But here's the ultimate secret to buying tech. Intel improves the speed and efficiency of their cores every single year. That means a brand new generation Core i3 can actually match or even beat the performance of an older generation Core i5. So as you think about your next computer, don't just blindly jump to the highest number or the most expensive tier. Stop and ask yourself, what are you actually asking your computer to do? Because with today's crazy advancements, the lower, more affordable tiers might just have all the workers you could ever actually need. So next time you're upgrading, are you going to buy the biggest dump truck or just the one that actually fits your groceries?